All right, happy Monday. Welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight in Minneapolis, where Homeland Security Investigations Division is on the ground today. Finally, I don't know what took them so long, but they're investigating child care facilities and other facilities suspected of massive fraud. I have a lot more on this in just a sec. Plus, President Trump sending a warning to Iran, the possible rebuilding of their nuclear program.
I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup.
Yeah, those guys aren't that smart. And U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Janine Pirro, says the Jan 6 pipe bomber suspect Brian Cole has admitted he's responsible for the devices outside the RNC and the DNC. Now, he was saying he was frustrated with both parties, and the idea to use pipe bombs came from a historic dispute in Northern Ireland. Another hearing is scheduled for tomorrow for that kook. But first, oh, say, can you see the fraud? I sure can. So can the 23-year-old that exposed it. Are they going to arrest anybody? I don't know. Let's do this. I mean, just when you thought this couldn't get any worse, the fraud in Minnesota has moved from just daycare centers that spell learning wrong on the sign to, I mean, like, what have we been warning you about this whole time? And the left have been screaming, how you can't take away medical benefits from tax-paying Americans. Would you look at that? It's not going to tax-paying Americans most of the time. It's going to Somalis. Stacks of new untold millions, maybe even billions, in Medicaid fraud in Minnesota.
So you're saying you have reason to believe more than half of that $18 billion likely represents fraud?
I'm saying that's very possible, yes.
Okay, and it gets better. Not only is there daycare fraud and food pantry fraud and Medicaid fraud, there are entire fake healthcare companies that are also working with fake driving companies to get people appointments that never happen in cars they never travel in.
Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
There's over 800 of these driving companies that are Somali-owned. Again, find the people who got the money, then find the people who signed off on the money and bury all of them under the... I mean, this is insane that nobody even checked this. Look, I get a veteran's property tax credit in Connecticut for my service-connected disability. And every year, I have to march back into town hall, verify that I live in the house that I'm claiming for the tax credit. I have to re-verify that I am, in fact, still a veteran, and I still have those injuries. Like, I didn't get unshot in the back. I also have been blown up. I've been in aircraft crashes and killed bad guys that I signed up to do after 9/11. And I have to verify all that every single year for just a few bucks off my property taxes. That is theft in the first place. And they won't take my word for it. But if you're a Somali immigrant, you can spell learning wrong on a daycare center with no kids in it and get, I don't know how many millions of dollars. You can bill the taxpayers for fake medical centers with no patients, fake lunch programs with no lunches, and ride services with no passengers. Nobody checks for going on like 7 years for a lot of these programs. Perhaps now is a better time than ever to look into Melissa Hortman's murder, perhaps. Remember her? She was killed along with her husband after being the lone Democrat to oppose a Minnesota spending bill that would have stopped allocating all this money to this type of fraud. Now, if you recall, the guy they arrested for that murder was, by the way, a Tim Walz appointee. Now, I'm making no allegations here. I'm just stating facts. Did she perhaps, maybe before her death, pick up the phone herself and, I don't know, maybe call one of these phone numbers listed for a daycare center? Because just one, we just picked one. We just picked up their daycare center's phone number listed on their website. I called it this morning, and it goes to Tim Walz's office.
And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
So this is the website of Sweet Angel Childcare. We're calling it. Thank you for contacting the office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor.
No way!
Our office is located at 130
Get out!
State Capitol at 75 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
We did that this morning in my office. This shows there was no due diligence whatsoever. That's a crime of negligence in and of itself. This is all part of that NGO bubble, the massive grift for like what Elon is saying has been $1.5 trillion. He's been warning about it for a year. That's why the left has burned his Tesla dealerships, because he was exposing just like the tip of the iceberg. It wasn't just Stacey Abrams and like drinking water wells through USAID in Africa. It was here too. It was everywhere. And I'm willing to bet that Tim Walz probably knew about it. And if he didn't, that just shows how stupid he really is. But maybe you'll just remember this one, when Walz said in October of 2023, oh, Minnesota's economy doesn't work without child care providers, so we're giving them a raise. And then he tweeted, we're providing $316 million more in direct funding to boost pay for child providers while building a stronger child care community. And then, while all this was going on yesterday, Tim Walz goes and brags on his Twitter account. Number 8 in state for safety, 5 in the state to live in, 3 in state for jobs, 2 in the state to raise a family, and 2 in the state to retire. I won't quit fighting till we're number 1. Well, Timmy, you are in fact number 1 in fraud for illegals. Great job, dude. And I've been crunching these numbers too, just like a brief overview of like basic numbers. And I got a lot of other questions here. And if Pam Bondi, I mean, like this is where I would start if I were her. Cross-checking how many social security numbers or TINs for people who aren't citizens or anything, that are any of these kids, the number of children they're claiming, are they eligible for these programs? And how many are enrolled and actually exist in real life? Because I don't think there's enough kids to fill those roles that we're paying for. And this can't be hard to do because it was found out by a YouTuber, Nick Shirley, a dude, a 23-year-old kid in a sweatshirt, not even old enough to rent a car. Like, what the hell is the Justice Department doing over there? Like, no one from any federal agency at any point in the last decade since Obama imported all these Somalis here, nobody thought to be like, this seems like a lot of kids and a lot of money. And the number of parents it would take to have this many kids doesn't also seem to add up. Maybe instead of just like moving papers from like one desk to another desk and saying, hey, we're doing due diligence, maybe the DOJ should actually like pick up a calculator and count them. And if they're even off by like 1, send in the feds to go door to door, like miraculously you're already doing this morning. Check every house in the state if you have to. People, well, Carl, you can't do that. Hold my beer. We did it in Fallujah, 5,000 miles away, with very little information. We could damn sure do it here. Maybe time to recruit the SWAT team that we've been funding over at the post office. Doubt those guys are busy after the holidays or ever. And you know, there is a law on the books that actually prohibits all of this burden. Here, look at this. U.S. immigration law codified in Section 212A4 of the Immigration Nationality Act. Section 8, U.S. Code 1182. This provision states that any non-citizen in the opinion of the immigration officials, and if they didn't see this coming, they should fire those immigration officials, is likely at any time to become a public charge, i.e. primarily dependent on the government. That person's inadmissible to the United States. And it's not just Minnesota. This is happening in Washington State, where there's hundreds of these daycare centers that list Somali as the primary language. Like, why are we giving any money at all to a place that doesn't speak American in America? Ohio, same thing, running home health facilities. Look, this is so dumb. If a veteran wants home health care, they need to provide annual certifications, proof of doctor's appointments through the VA, diagnoses, progress reports, expenditures, down to like the miles driven for the caregiver. But if you're a non-English speaking Somali refugee, no problem. Here's $250K a year for your scam. Same thing in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts too, apparently. Like, this is your layup, Pam. I know I've been hard on you because you've figured out a way to not successfully charge the crimes for any of the people you said you were going to charge thus far, things that we were promised. But this is like, you do this, I will applaud and change my mind on you in a heartbeat. And I want real arrests, not like some Somali refugee. I want like officials who approve this. Find out who signed off on these programs. Charge them today. This could actually be like the saving grace for Republicans to keep the House in the midterms. And if Biden, if he knew about it, it goes all the way up to him as the ultimate authority. Charge him too. Same with Tim Walz. Bury that guy under the jail. No, we don't prosecute our political opponents. Well, apparently DOJ is not prosecuting anyone right now. This is an organized syndicate. And all you have to do is follow the money. And when you think the trail stops with someone, you press them to the fullest extent of the law. They'll crack. Otherwise, this stuff will never stop unless you bury a lot of people under the jail. And the reason I'm so pissed about this is because this was probably not like some scheme designed by some starving Somali immigrants coming here on refugee visas. And I'm basing this solely off the assumption, the fact that, according to the World Population Review, the average IQ in Somalia is 67.7. That's below what we in America consider mentally retarded. That's a medical term, which is 70. Used to actually be 80 back in the 70s. But if I was a betting man, I'd wager that Walz took that $18 billion surplus he inherited when he took the governor's mansion and turned it into a $6 billion deficit because he probably knew why. The guy who was literally the shining example of a man for by the Democrat Party. He was the governor, and he still is the governor, but all of this stuff was going on, and he was propped up by Democrats. Walz had total control in his state. Democrats made the laws. They allocated the funding. And, would you look at that? They appointed the judges, too. And what did those judges do? They let this stuff go. Here's a few judges that have let Somalis go recently in a $7.2 million Medicaid fraud scheme that they had them dead to rights. I would bet Tim Walz knew. And if he didn't, Trump was right about his mental capacity, too. And you want to know why I trash the rest of the media every day? Because as of this morning, the legacy media, largely ignoring this, CNN, Washington Post, MS Now, NPR, USA Today, Reuters, Axios, PBS, ABC, if they're covering it all, which most are, some of them aren't even mentioning this at all. The ones that are, instead are portraying the fight for accountability as racist. But they all wrote stories about Trump's ballroom, and I was paid for by private donors as if it was some massive fraud on the American people. Okay. They threw Blagojevich in jail for 8 years until Trump commuted his sentence for less than this, selling Obama's Senate seat. He didn't even steal money from the taxpayers. Jack Smith went after Governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, for accepting a gift that was worth $175,000 from a private citizen. He also didn't steal any money. That conviction was obviously overturned by the Supreme Court, but they went after it for him anyway. I will not accept anything but a barrage. I'm talking like Enola Gay over Hiroshima in the 40s of prosecutions here. There is no reason that governors and hundreds, if not thousands, of state and federal officials should not go to jail for the rest of their life. Not only for the fraud itself, but for not coming out until a 20-something-year-old in a sweatshirt went out there and uncovered it with his iPhone. Michael Holmstrom is a Republican in Minnesota's state Senate. Michael, this is there are so many four-letter words I want to use for this right now. It makes me want to stop paying taxes.
Yeah, you and me both. And I get the emails. People are ready to not pay their taxes this year. I get so many emails from constituents saying, hey, it's tax season, don't expect a check.
Yeah, and if everybody stopped paying, what are they going to do? They're going to come after everyone?
Well,
they're not going after
there's
anyone.
Really no way to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All right, so look, Pam Bondi actually, right before the show went on air, weighed in on Shirley's reporting saying, quote, the Justice Department has been investigating this for months. So far, we've charged 98 individuals, 85 Somali descent, and more than 60 have been found guilty in court. We have more prosecutions coming. Buckle up, lawmakers. But like I said, most of these people come from a place with an average IQ of 67. That means half the people that were probably charged are below that, actually. So they had to have collusion within the government, don't you think?
This is quite the concept. There was actually scheduled earlier this month or late November a training from Minnesota DHS for the Somali community how to get access to DHS funds. I mean, they were doing it openly.
Yeah, this is crazy to me. I remember, it's like leaving the military. They give you a 4-hour course on how to live as a civilian again. It's mostly how to be HR compliant. And they're giving Somalis ways to steal money from the federal. It's unbelievable. But I look at these Minnesotas. A lot of people knew this has been going on forever, and it just never became a story because No, like I said, the legacy media, nobody wanted to cover it. But Kash Patel is like, oh, the FBI is aware of this. We've actually been aware for a while. Hey, yeah, we've charged a few Somalis, but no government officials.
So earlier this year, the largest newspaper, Minnesota Star Tribune, they did an article, a year-end wrap-up, and they did not mention this fraud scandal once in their entire year-end wrap-up. That's the type of media we have here in Minnesota. It's not honest. It's not interested in getting down to the truth. It's just an apparatchik of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, we actually did a thing about a bunch of the publications out there, and a lot of the writers are actually Somali, so no surprise that they're not covering it. The Small Business Administration is reportedly cutting off a ton of grants in light of this report. Excuse me. But I think that this is actually, I mean, this is good, obviously, but is this going to hurt actual law-abiding citizens?
That's all that's been happening. Is this fraud has been perpetuated. The administration doesn't care, and then these programs keep getting cut. I hear from local providers. I hear from businesses. Everyone's starting to feel the pain, and the actual areas that should be focused on, the state is not interested. They're obfuscating. Governor Tim Walz spent the weekend posting cat memes, and our attorney or our lieutenant governor, she spent the weekend throwing on a hijab and pretending to be part of the Somali community to try to gather votes for her Senate run. It's really despicable. This is just an unserious administration in a state that's drowning.
Yeah, I think that was the one state that Reagan didn't win in his second election. Now I
know why. It is the one.
Yep, well, Michael Holmstrom, we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much.
Good luck in tax season. I hope people actually pay. All right, coming up, one British teacher branded a terrorist after showing a video of Trump to his politics class. How soon before that starts happening here? We're going to discuss in just a bit. But first, as 2025 wraps up, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives clocks in the fewest votes on the floor since Reagan. Founder and president of Article 3 Project, Mike Davis, joins me next.
Ring in the new year with our spectacular celebration full of fun, inspiration, and patriotic spirit. Newsmax takes you to the best parties in the USA, from the iconic ball drop at Times Square to Nashville's Big Bash. Join me along with fitness icon Jillian Michaels, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and legendary singer Lee Greenwood. It's a party for the whole family. Laughter, music, and motivation to start 2026 right. Don't miss our New Year's Eve special starting at 8 p.m.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories before our sale ends.
Hey guys, Viagra is not your only option. Rose Sparks act fast and stay active longer. They aren't pills. Sparks dissolve under your tongue to reach your bloodstream for speedy results. Connect with a provider at ro.co/sparks.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
During the Omaha Steaks end-of-season event, save 50% site-wide and get our Butcher's Classic assortment with USDA certified tender filet mignon and top sirloin fillets for just $99.99. Plus, get 8 burgers free. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slowmag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slowmag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slowmag.
Lock in 50% off for 1 year when you subscribe to the Whole Health System.
This majority that promised us the world has failed us. In a year of full Republican control of Congress and the White House and the Senate, just wrapped up its first session with a mere 362 roll call votes and only 38 bills signed into law. Some of them were so insignificant they didn't even register. This is the lowest tally for any congressional session since Reagan in 1989 when he left office. You see why I'm hating on Thune and Mike Johnson all the time? What's the holdup here? The people voted for America First policy. It's time to start codifying them in the law. Just pick one, like voter ID or something. Founder and president of Article 3 Project, Mike Davis. Sir, I feel justified seeing this number.
I would say this: if you look at just Congress passing and President Trump signing the one big beautiful bill, that codified 75% of President Trump's campaign promises, including massive tax relief for working families, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. We put huge investments into our border security. You're seeing President Trump end the invasion of our country and actually send 2.5 million illegals packing, and that's going to grow exponentially in 2026. You've modernized the military. I'm not so down on what the Republicans have accomplished over the last year, and they're just getting started.
Yeah, Mike, there's no doubt. Like, the big, beautiful bill, while it did spend a lot, which didn't make me thrilled, it did do a lot of the things he promised. No doubt there, you are absolutely right. And I'm still MAGA all the way. I just have a couple gripes with things like Congress. Like, they promised voter ID. They promised, like, national reciprocity for handguns, for handgun carry, passed the House, and the Senate never took it up. Like, why aren't they doing, like, these, Mike, these are layups that would help the midterms bigly.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. And I've worked in the House, I've worked in the Senate. I would say that the Senate is the swamp of the swamp. And so if you want to get anything done in the Senate, you have to really bulldoze your way through the Senate. But I'm not so doom and gloom on what the House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and President Trump have accomplished so far. I think they've done monumental things for the American people. Just securing the border alone is a huge accomplishment. President Trump got the Golden Dome enacted. Even at the Justice Department, where I hear a lot of criticism, I think Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing a remarkable job. She's won monumental wins for the presidency and at the Supreme Court, a long string of victories, something Republicans have not accomplished in almost 90 years. She's throwing criminals in prison, and we hear a lot of concerns about lawfare. I mean, we've seen the reporting. You're going to see a grand jury opened in Fort Pierce, Florida in January, and justice is definitely coming.
And Mike, like, look, I was so pro Pam Bondi for like 8 months, and I quite frankly, I lost my patience with her, and I've completely lost respect for her for some of those things because I wanted some prosecutions. And in a year, man, and the one person they did get a grand jury to indict, they ended up screwing up the process, Letitia James. I mean, dude, if Pam did this thing, if this grand jury you say is coming in January, if they start getting this ball moving, like, I will full swing fall back in behind her. But I just haven't seen anything, man. And most people are really in the same boat as me.
I am a huge fan of Pam Bondi. She's exactly who President Trump needs as the Attorney General. She is bold. She is fearless. She has bigger balls, pardon my language, than all the Republican attorneys general before her combined. She's brought dramatic changes to the Justice Department. She's fired people within the Justice Department. She's fired people within the FBI. She's opening up these probes. She's actually bringing prosecutions that prior AGs would not bring. And I get people get frustrated because they don't see what's going on in public. But I can assure you a lot is going on behind the scenes, and I can assure you that justice is definitely coming.
Look, Mike, I love you, man. I want to believe you. I hope you're right. And if you are, I will come on here and eat crow and thank Pam Bondi from the hills. Okay, I promise you that. And you'll be my guest for that. But I want to get to
I will
this.
serve the crow.
Yeah.
I will serve the crow.
I will take it. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong and you are right. Just, I don't have a lot of faith right now. So that said, indicted Florida Congresswoman Sheila McCormick coming under some scrutiny. She edited out, she's the one who was accused of stealing all that money from FEMA. She edited out a $109,000 diamond ring for her, like, campaign Merry Christmas. I mean, come on.
I mean, this is clearly racist, as the Democrats would say that we're even talking about this, but it's outrageous. Our government is getting fleeced, right? We're seeing this not only with the billions of dollars that the Somali warlords and pirates stole from us, but this is happening across our government, across the country. And one thing good about President Trump is we've seen this. We've seen with Elon Musk and Doge, they uncovered $1 trillion in waste, fraud, and abuse in several months. And then we see a 23-year-old online journalist, independent journalist, who's uncovered billions within one day. And I think that, that kudos to those people. And I guarantee you that the Justice Department, working with the Treasury Department, working with the HHS, working with these other agencies, they're going to hold these people accountable.
Yeah. Look, I hope you're right, man. And like I said, you'll be the first guest if something happens that I come on here and apologize to her and get behind her again. Mike, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, as the 5-year mark on January 6 approaches, Republicans are fed up about the demanding that the prosecutions for January 6. I mean, like, where are the arrests for the deep staters? And like I said, will Pam Bondi run out of time on some things? That and more in our Culture Clash.
One of my most frequently asked questions is, how do you get your teeth so white? And no, it's not the reflection off my white hair. It's Smile Actives. Boom, right there.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth, or you can be full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
And right now, the best part, buy one, get one free.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I drink coffee every day. Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings.
I think we can all agree, no matter what the occasion, when you leave the house, everyone notices your bright white smile.
Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
I'm David Wright, former New York Mets third baseman, and I support the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I've seen firsthand the great work they do helping our firefighters, our police, and our soldiers and their families. T2T is asking for your support for these brave men and women. Just $11 a month will go a long way and make a big difference. Go to t2t.org to find out more. Let's go Mets, and let's do good together.
Well, big social media battle going on right now with Harmeet Dhillon regarding January 6 prosecutions because she's hands down the most effective and seemingly most respected member of the DOJ by a long shot by the base right now, including, like, I love her. But they sent her out to try to calm people down, people like me, who are frustrated, like we were just talking about. No one's being prosecuted because the 5-year mark for January 6th is just a few days away, which means some, not all, but some statute of limitations on certain actions could run out. Let me give you the legal background here. Posting on X, she said, January 6, 2021, this date is irrelevant to prosecuting conspiracy or other wrongdoing regarding the weaponization general 5-year statute. Jan 6 committee in Congress forms in the summer. This is relevant date, mid-2026. Potentially, Jack Smith appointed over a year later as special counsel in November. Statute runs out on his obvious shenanigans in late 2027. She went on. Democrats in Congress and those in states colluding with Biden White House hid their behavior, some of which still hasn't come to light. Statute runs on this 5 years after their concealed behavior is known to the government. This means the statute could run in the next administration. Look, she's correct on all of that, okay? But some of it does run out on Jan 6. And this just gives like one more level of frustration to people like me that are holding their breath, hoping that somebody from that thing that broke the law to prosecute people gets held accountable. I mean, like, what are you going to say in a year if we still don't have anything? Like, are you guys going to charge somebody or not? I don't know. Newsmax contributor Chrissy Clark and Republican strategist Cliff Maloney. All right, you know, Chrissy, it's just like one more waiting game.
Yeah, and you know, Harmeet was coming on here calling MAGA influencers hoes, I believe was the word she used, saying that people were out here creating this wild conspiracy theory that, the prosecutions needed to happen now and that we didn't really understand the system. The truth of the matter is that whether it was Harmeet, Dhillon, or most likely it's Pam Bondi, they were the people that were amping us up in the 2024 election, promising and running on this. So it's not like this hype and demand has been created out of influencers getting online and talking about this. This was created by the very DOJ that is in office right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, Cliff, it just seems to me like such a layup. These people deleted evidence. Go after them for that, and then you could charge them for other stuff later.
Well, it's like at the end of National Treasure, when he says, look, Ben, somebody stole the Constitution. Somebody's got to go to prison.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that this is where we all are on the right. Somebody has to be held accountable. Right, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's J6, as we're watching the tapes here, when the left weaponizes government, someone has to be held accountable. We don't need any more tweets. We don't need any more of these angry statements and letters and these hearings. Somebody has to be held accountable. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a big, big problem for the America First movement if we don't see real action on this very soon.
Otherwise, it's just going to go back to the same old, and Republicans are going to lose and the bar's going to move further to the left. Anyway, this is a big one, Chrissy. And look, you as expecting and obviously a homeowner, data for November shows that 1.95 million active home sellers versus only 1.43 million home buyers. Basically, it's a surplus, and it's a 37% imbalance. This is the widest gap, and it is totally a buyer's market. Housing prices are going to crash. This is the biggest gap we've seen in 33 months.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning. I mean, we got our house for way under asking price because of this. This has been going on for months now. It's just getting dramatically worse. What's really interesting is that I found a correlation between, yes, this depreciating housing market where houses that people expect would go for $200,000, $300,000 are being listed for $500,000. But simultaneously, you'll notice, Carl, on TikTok and on social media, people in my age gap or in my generation, Gen Z, they're romanticizing taking older houses and flipping them. So you're going to start to watch, I think, the culture come alongside buying older homes and flipping them. I'm telling you, that's going to be the huge trend of 2026 is if you have any sort of new build home, people are not interested in it. They're going to go for these flipped, older looking houses. It's just going to be the whole trend of 2026. But I'm predicting it now.
Cliff, I was talking about this the other night on the show. People in Chrissy's generation, even my generation, I'm technically a millennial. I'm like the top end of it. I'm 42. They don't know how to build anything.
Right. And look, I think this is going to be a major problem. We've had it very good in the United States for quite some time, and the government's been spending money like crazy. Eventually, the chickens are going to come home to roost. Eventually, we're going to have to get creative. I agree with Chrissy. We're going to have some unique adaptations that are going to have to come about because nobody's going to be able to afford, what's happening right now, especially when you're trying to sell your home in this type of market. It is a buyer's market, and the American people are going to have to figure out ways to be creative. But I do think it's about to come time where these ramifications are going to impact us greatly.
Yeah, I mean, half my friends don't even own a toolbox, which hurts my soul. Anyway, I got to leave it right there. Chrissy, Cliff, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, this guy is allowed to say basically whatever he wants about white people in the UK, but a teacher who shows a historical video of Donald Trump can't do that. Watch next.
You know, folks, I thank God for my wonderful wife, my kids, my country, the greatest nation ever. And Americans like you who believe in the truth, the Chris Salcedo Show will never stop fighting for you.
The Chris Salcedo Show, for the news you need to know.
I was serving in Afghanistan back in May 31st, 2012. I stepped on an IED. And then I just thought, please be alive, please be alive, please be alive.
And then I woke up at 4:30 in the morning with 7 missed calls from his dad saying that he's alive, he's coming home. And the next 5 days just felt like being underwater.
I was terrified.
So Luke's Wings heard about us, and on December 23rd, they reached out and they flew our whole family up.
Since 2008, Luke's Wings has brought families together, providing over 16,000 flights for wounded service members while they recover. This Christmas and Hanukkah, our mission is bold, to reunite 500 heroes with their loved ones, but we can't do it alone. For just $12 a month, you can be the reason someone's Christmas shines a little brighter.
When Christmas came around, they stepped right up and they saved my whole holiday.
Thank you, Luke's Wings.
Thank you, Luke's Wings.
Please give today.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Brethora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Nearly home. Whodunit?
We're looking for a house closer to everything, but we don't know where to start.
Find it with Realtor.com. With Real Commute, it's easy to find a home closer to what's ever close to your heart. Do y'all recycle? Realtor.com.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. 2 of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor and I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse and I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later and I've got much better range of motion. I'm able to carry these big canvases around. I'm just very, very grateful that I gave the product a try.
If pain is affecting your life, give Relief Factor a try. Call or go online. Get your 3-week quick start for only $19.95. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Well, if you don't think the left here in America is drooling over this kind of power, just absolutely think again. A teacher in the UK has been likened to a terrorist after showing videos, including just a Donald Trump campaign and an inauguration video in a U.S. politics class in Great Britain. His school, the Henley College, referred the teacher who showed the video to a local child safeguarding authority, like the president of the HOA, I guess. See, they included a referral to the government's counterterrorism program, too. Why? Because he allegedly caused the 17 and 18-year-old students, who are supposed to be adults, emotional harm. Local officials suggesting that showing the video could amount to a hate crime. Editor-in-chief at the Washington Reporter, Matt Foldi, who actually just got back from a 10-day trip to the UK for I have no idea what reason for. All right, so what the F is going on?
Well, as they say in England, salamu alaikum, Carl. And I've got to say, if you are a millennial, if you're a millennial, I'm a Navy SEAL. So okay.
Yeah, I am. I'm 42.
But I got out of London, and honestly, look, they're referring this teacher to their counterterrorism unit. This guy could not be safer. If the British counter-terror squad is looking into him, they can't counter terrorism in the UK, unfortunately, to literally save their lives. I mean, this is a country, think about Churchill saving the world from Nazism. These guys now, led by feckless Keir Starmer, and honestly, but until we got in, we got in.
They were losing ships 8-1 in the English Channel, and America came in there, and we freed them up.
No, listen, absolutely. But until we got our act together, Churchill is the big reason that you and I aren't speaking German right now. And, you know, you look at who they have running their country right now, Keir Starmer, this feckless moron. They're now reporting teachers who are teaching actual history to counterterrorism.
Yeah.
Oy va avoid. This is a country, honestly, I mean, you look at Western Europe more broadly, they have lost the will to survive in too many instances. And this that you're talking about is sadly nowhere near the only instance. There's a very famous instance that we don't have the time to get into called Tony Martin. Farmer Martin was a farmer in England in like the 1990s who kept getting robbed in northern England, and he shot and killed people who were burgling him. And now you and I would say, okay, this guy should get a ticker tape parade in his honor. And Carl, they arrested him and they prosecuted him for killing the criminals on his own property. The UK, it's had a great history, but I'm very concerned about its future.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, we did memorialize George Floyd, the drug addict who died of a heroin overdose or a fentanyl overdose while resisting arrest. But, you know, like, this teacher, he's likened to this terrorist for showing the video of his inauguration, of the President of the United States inauguration, okay? But this guy, Alaa Abdul El Fattah, is back in the UK after being released from prison in Egypt. And he's known for things like saying, I consider killing colonists, specifically Zionists, heroic. We need to kill more of them. Or sounds like we need more fear. Random shooting of white males should convince them racist costs lives. I mean, like, this guy, I mean, just riddled with all kinds of, I effing hate white people, a blight on the earth. I mean, he's fine in England, though.
Yeah, actually, I think he'll probably be the next mayor of London. And look, I think that, you know, in America, you can basically say all of those things and have a First Amendment right to say these things. But when you're going to the United Kingdom, this is a country where I was astonished that I was not pulled over in the airport for the memes that I've posted that I text you. So this is a country that's thrown free speech out the window. Yet this is the kind of borderline terrorist that Keir Starmer is saying we want to welcome into the country. Now, look, the Labour government has said we're looking into the lapses that have allowed this chap to be readmitted. This is why, Carl, their counterterrorism system is a joke. I mean, look, Carl, I don't know, in your prior career, what was your experience in working with these people? Because I hope it was better than they're putting out now.
I mean, working with the SAS was actually totally fine. Working with people like that Fattah guy, let's just say I came home and he didn't.
Right. Then now they're bringing him to England.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, Mayor Khan, you need some help. I have a long history and successful operating in these conditions. I'm just saying, I'm here. Okay. Unchecked crazy. Listen to this Parliament member who's defending cousin marriages. Roll this.
The way to redress this is not to empower the state to ban adults from marrying each other, not least because I don't think it would be effective or enforceable. Instead of stigmatizing those who are in cousin marriages or those inclined to be, a much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic test screening for prospective married couples, as is the case in all Arab countries in the Persian Gulf.
Maybe they're just tired of funding medical procedures for people who have ailments from cousin marriages.
It's all relative.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No, that's their marriages. They're all relative.
That is fair.
No, that's it. No, that's what's going on. Look, honestly, relative. Carl, 2025 is ending. Please, we need to send you to the UK because the special relationship that, thank God, America and the UK have had since we beat them in the War of 1812, it needs to continue. And I am very concerned about what I see going on over there. Please, take a vacation and help them out over there, Carl.
I'll bring my tea. Matt, we appreciate it.
Right. Have a great day, Carl.
Coming up, Trump welcomes world leaders to Mar-a-Lago, the winter White House. What did he accomplish? Well, we'll talk about it.
Samaritan's Purse is ready to show the love of Christ to people in the most difficult circumstances. But we can't go without you. With your support, we can build homes, heal hearts, provide critical relief, and bring hope to a world in need. Donate now at SamaritansPurse.org. Let's get to work in Jesus' name.
From the beginning, America has depended on the courage and resilience of those who serve in our armed forces. For 250 years, they've been there for us without fail, putting their lives on the line, defending our freedom, helping us become the nation we are today. At Wounded Warrior Project, our mission honors the past by building a better future for post-9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Our life-changing programs and services help warriors improve their mental and physical health, access the VA benefits they've earned, and connect with their communities, their purpose, and each other. Warriors have given us their best. Join us in supporting them through the next 250 years of strength, resilience, and recovery. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/USA250.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
There are only a few men I'd trust with my life. Two of them built this wallet. I've known the guys behind Proof for nearly 20 years, and we've been through hell and back together. When they told me they were building the wallet, I just said, bill me now, I'm in. This isn't some fashion piece. This isn't just some trend. These wallets are a direct reflection of the kind of men who built it. It's built to last, built to function, and designed to carry everything you need and more. If anything happens to it, they'll take care of it. No questions, no fine print. If you knew the guys who created this wallet, you wouldn't carry anything else. Go check them out, because they built this thing right.
We have 59 countries that signed on, big countries that are outside of the Middle East, as you know the Middle East. They were for the deal based on the fact that Hamas pledged, they swore that they were going to disarm. Now, if they're not going to disarm, those same countries will wipe out Hamas.
President Trump today sending a warm Hamas warning about rearming, saying other countries, not including Israel, are willing to wipe them out. Trump taking part in a news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago today, where the two leaders met on a number of issues, including the ongoing effort to secure peace in Gaza and how to deal with Iran, because they're a thorn in everyone's rear end. Former Chief of Staff for the National Security Council, Fred Fleitz, and Vice President of National Security at the Heritage Foundation, Victoria Coates. Okay, Fred, I look at this and I'm like, great. They've been doing this peace plan forever. Like, if Gaza hasn't learned by now, like, there's no amount of bombs on earth that's going to make them learn.
You know, when we look at Gaza and Ukraine, we have to think about what's going on here. To solve extremely complicated international crises, you have to have a president who has credibility and who is trusted. There's no easy answers to these problems, but Trump is moving forward to try to get the parties to come to a solution. And if various parties don't cooperate, there's going to be consequences. I think Trump indicated that today. He knows that Hamas is only not just refusing to disarm, it's rearming. And I think there'll be severe consequences to Hamas for that.
But Victoria, here's the other thing. We got this $112 billion proposal, 60 of which might come from the United States to rebuild Gaza. And I'm like, no. I don't want anything to do with rebuilding that area.
No, and you and the rest of the civilized world, Carl, I mean, everybody knows that if Hamas would simply disarm, the amount of aid that would flow into Gaza would be staggering. Not just from the United States, but from Europe, from everywhere else. The Gaza can be Gaza-Lago. It can be what the president envisions. It's a choice of the Palestinians living there. And they're all complaining that they're living in tents and the tents are blowing away because it's winter and it's raining. Well, yes, that's because you support Hamas. So unless the Palestinians reject Hamas, the situation will continue.
Victoria, I thought I heard you say that third world countries are third world countries because of third world people there for a minute. I mean, excuse me.
I would never say such a thing, Carl.
Weird. All right. So, Fred, President Trump also welcomed in Ukrainian Vladimir Zelensky to Mar-a-Lago this weekend. Tried to hash out a deal. He doesn't want to give up territory, but like, hey, this is how conquering land works, right?
There's significant progress. We now know the Ukrainians are prepared to leave areas of Donbass and put it into a DMZ if we can get a similar agreement by Russia. This is a huge concession that was not on the table just a month ago, but Trump has put together a plan that the Europeans are behind, Ukraine is behind, we are behind, and he's saying to Putin that there's no timetable. Trump was pushing for a timetable. Now he's making the point to Putin, you cannot wait me out.
Yeah. Well, Victoria, real quick here. The other thing is all Putin really wants is for NATO to stop expanding east. I mean, we promised that after the Cold War ended and the wall came down. We promised it. Europe promised it. I'm not saying like, Putin's a great guy here, but at the end of the day, like he wants NATO off his borders. I don't blame him.
Well, I mean, I think Putin doesn't get a veto over who does or does not get into NATO, but there are reasons, Carl, that Ukraine wasn't in NATO in January of 2022, and those reasons are still valid.
Right.
So there's no reason. Well, I mean, start there and move on. But that's not an issue, and it shouldn't be. And I think that is a give we can do without any lasting repercussions and hopefully get Russia to the table.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm just so over caring about Ukraine and all the money we dumped in there. But one of the things, Fred, real quick, is Zelensky's got to face an election, which I think he probably understands he's not going to win again.
Well, I think he's going to win it. I don't know when that election will be. I don't want an election while Ukraine and Russia are at war. I know there's some people who think that. I want to see the war over. I think we need to focus on Putin as the obstacle to this deal. And if Putin won't deal, we have to really up the ante with economic sanctions, seizing their assets abroad, energy sanctions. I think we're going to get there. But look, peacemaking is hard. It may be a long slog.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of Trump peace deals recently, so I'm optimistic about this one. Fred, Victoria, we appreciate it.
Good to be
All
here.
right, be sure to check out Greta's interview with Benjamin Netanyahu tomorrow at 4 p.m. right here on Newsmax. All right, before we go, I told you so, Libs, but you didn't believe me. I'll tell you what I'm talking about next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's high absorption magnesium glycinate helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
When curiosity strikes about the everyday lives of your family, we're here with answers only your ancestors can provide. See their stories before our sale ends.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
At 43 years old, I don't mess around with products that waste my time. Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips. Just add a little bit on top of your toothpaste when you brush your teeth. And ta-da, white teeth.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth and just be old Nana or Pop-Pop, or you can be smiling and dazzling and full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
I drink coffee every day. I started noticing that my teeth were not as bright as I'd like them to be, a little dingy, but Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
It's really a no-brainer if you want to whiten your teeth.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings. Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
Men are equal to women. I give you example 5,289, why physically that's not true. World tennis #1 player, Aryna Sabalenka, or whatever her name is, took on the men's number 671st player, Nick Kyrgios. And guess what happened?
Your champion of the Battle of the Sexes.
What an amazing match this has been, not just in terms of tennis, but just in terms of an experience for the crowds, for entertainment.
Who could have seen that coming? Kyrgios beat her in 2 straight sets. And look at the court size. It was 2 different sizes. Aryna having 10% smaller side. Kyrgios had been sidelined with injuries and has barely played in the past 3 years. It looked like he was barely trying. Look, I love the thought of libs being mad about this, but they got to eat crow and recognize the reality. And then, again, that would be mean if it would have to be reasonable. And libs don't have any reason whatsoever. I mean, Rob, this is insane.
Well, I'm a big tennis guy. Serena admitted this a long time ago, that there's especially in tennis, the men are just so much more overpowering. Kyrgios has one of the strongest serves I've ever seen, too. So what they did is they only had 1 serve allowed, which basically neutralizes his first serve. So he's hitting second serves all night or else he's going to fault out, which takes away his biggest weapon. And it still was what it was. Sabalenka is the best in the world, one of the best women who's ever played the game. And he's not even really playing anymore. So, yeah, it just kind of proved what I think a lot of people already knew, which is why you got to protect women's sports. You can't let these dudes pretending to be women play in women's sports and shatter all the dreams of these young girls.
Oh, he double as a Wimbledon commentator, too, Rob. Have a good one.
There you go. Carl. Carl. Good to see you, buddy. All right.